the bright room. The headboard made a soft tap against the wall as the bed shifted beneath us, sheets loose and warm from the day's sun. Light spilled through the curtains and streaked across the floor and into the bed. He looked up, that small familiar grin at the corner of his mouth. "You always like to lead," he said, his tone gentle. "But I like seeing this side of you. Stay right there." I held still for a moment and he smiled again, his presence steady and reassuring. He kept close, matching my pace with quiet intention. I leaned in once more, watching the subtle change in his expression. Then I rested my head against him. Quiet and steady, we breathed together, slow and even, one of his hands drawing lazy circles along my back until the motion became part of the room's calm. "You know," he murmured, "you've still got that effect on people." I smiled lightly. "Now you're flattering me," I said. "I'm serious," he replied. "You walk into a room and people notice. Men and women both." I tilted my head, caught between curiosity and the warmth of being seen. "What are you getting at?" I asked. He didn't answer outright, just smiled and said, "I planned something for us this weekend." "What kind of something?" I asked. He grinned, half secretive. "You'll see. Pack light and maybe bring something you don't mind wearing around other people." I raised an eyebrow. "That's it? That's all I get?" He chuckled, gave my thigh a playful tap, and pulled me back toward him. "Don't overthink it now," he said. "Just be here with me." We arrived the following afternoon, the sun high and warm, the breeze carrying salt, and the easy sound of the surf. The cabin looked even better than the photos. Clean lines, tall windows, wood that smelled faintly of cedar, and a wraparound deck that stepped right down toward the beach. Lena and Chris were already outside, waving before we even pulled into the drive. They rushed over with the kind of energy you have for people you've missed for months. Lena hugging me like maybe she'd never let go. "You look incredible," she said, cheek pressed to mine. "Seriously, you're glowing." Chris's smile matched hers. He seemed genuinely glad to have us there. Inside, things effortless. Wine poured, small plates arranged. Music low and friendly with the windows open to let the air move through the house and the scent of citrus and sunscreen drift across the living room. "Drop your bags wherever," Lena said, handing me a glass. "Rooms are all set." I walked down the hall expecting 2 doors left and right, but only one was open. One bed was made up. Fresh sheets, plumped pillows, and a quiet, airy light that made the whole room look soft. I stopped in the doorway, bag in one hand, wine glass in the other. "Wait, this is it?" "Just one?" I asked Lena, leaning in the frame, sipping her drink with a casual smile. "Of course," she said as if it were the most ordinary plan. "We thought we'd all share." I didn't answer right away. I stood there, not sure if my silence was surprise or something else. She, cheerful as ever, turned and drifted down the hallway as if she'd simply offered to rearrange towels and nothing more. I followed a few steps later, walking slower now, the house feeling different, warmer and quieter, as though something unseen had shifted the air. When I found my husband, he was at the back window with a drink, watching the water. "You said there was a surprise," I said quietly. "Was this part of it?" He didn't take his eyes off the horizon. "Part of it," he said. "We've talked about things before. They were curious. I was curious. I thought maybe you'd be open to it if you were here. Relaxed. I didn't want to push or make you decide on the spot." I stared at him, not sure whether I annoyed or intrigued. "If you hate it." "We don't do anything," he added, meeting my eyes. "We unpack, eat, enjoy the weekend like always." Before I could reply, I heard the soft clink of a glass behind me. Lena stood in the doorway again, barefoot, calm eyes on me. "Hey, you okay?" she asked gently. I gave a small nod, though it an incomplete answer. She stepped into the room, the scent of her perfume mixing with the citrus in the air, her voice soft and steady. "I know it's unexpected, but it doesn't have to be anything you don't want," she said. Closer now. "We just wanted you to know we've admired you." Her words landed like a compliment rather than a threat, And for a moment, I saw in a way that wasn't loud or demanding. She reached out, her fingers brushing mine before she tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear and smiled like a friend who knew me better than I thought possible. She took my hand and led me back out of the room with a quiet confidence, and my husband's steps follow behind us, close and reassuring. The air in the house seemed to hold its breath, quiet and expectant. Later that evening, as the light softened and music threaded through the rooms, we moved together through dinner. Conversation light and warm. But beneath that ordinary pace, something else hummed, an undercurrent of attention that made small glances last a half-second longer than before. There was no pressure, only an easy curiosity, an invitation to be present. At one point, Lena leaned in close enough that her shoulder brushed mine and whispered, "You don't have to hide how you can let yourself be seen." Her voice was low and kind, and I had gentle in my chest, not from coercion but from recognition, someone acknowledging that a part of me had been quiet for too long. I didn't know then exactly what I wanted, but I knew one thing. I wasn't afraid of it anymore. As night deepened, we stayed up late, talking in soft voices, sharing half-finished stories and memories we usually kept tucked away in the corners of conversation. We laughed, then grew quiet, then spoke again, the four of us in the living room with the moon silver across the water outside. It like a slow, careful unrolling of something honest between people who had chosen to be gentle with one another. When the house finally settled and the lights were low, the closeness between us warm and safe. No rush, only patience and attention, hands that paused to check in, a tenderness that didn't demand anything more than consent and mutual care. By morning, the light returned gentle and clear. I woke with the salt air moving through the open window and a calm I hadn't expected. My husband lay behind me, steady and awake enough to breathe softly, his arm resting across my waist. Lena had curled up nearby, and Chris was at the foot of the bed, half asleep, but smiling even in sleep. The room held that quiet aftermath you get after something important has shifted. Soft, still, and almost reverent. I slipped from under the covers without a sound, not because I wanted to leave what had happened behind, but because I whole, in a way that made movement toward the day natural. My more relaxed and my thoughts clearer. There was no confusion now, only a growing awareness of how close we'd become in a short time. I moved through the room with measured certainty, and when I looked at them all, a smile spread across my face. "Don't even think about falling back asleep," I said with a laugh, voice low and warm. The days just beginning, they stirred, barely awake at first, then more alert as the light moved across their faces. We spent the following hours wandering the shoreline, wading in shallow water, picking up shells, sharing jokes and secrets that lighter in daylight. We cooked together, lazy and deliberate. The kitchen full of small rituals, chopping onions, passing bowls, laughter spilling into stories about other trips and other days when we braver or had been less sure of ourselves. That weekend was both restful and active in the best way. Long walks, quiet conversation, shared meals, and moments of silence that like comfortable pauses rather than emptiness. Even though we never put a label on what had happened that first night, the weekend itself became a gentle unfolding of trust. Each moment seemed to test and reaffirm that we were all moving carefully and respectfully with one another. No one raised the awkwardness. The talk was instead about what good, honesty, respect, and the rare ease of being allowed to simply be present with people who see you. After we packed up to leave, Lena hugged me one more time, her voice as soft as before. "You're stronger than you think," she said. I let out a small laugh. "Maybe," I answered. Or maybe I just finally let myself stop holding back. As we drove home, the coastline shrinking in the rear window, the weekend settled into me like a warm memory. The change wasn't only about what we had shared, but how it shifted something inside me. I freer, more open, and more present than I had in a long time. Before you go, be honest. What would you have done